It's time for Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimpson and Kevin Scholla.
Hey, Susan, how are you?
Kevin, I'm doing great. Nice to be here.
Great to have you again. What's going on?
Well, we've had a few things going on here in Virginia, but one subject that I'm interested in, I think that every American can relate to at least wondering or thinking about this once or twice. If you follow the money, what kind of influence does that have on our lawmakers? And one article caught my attention, and that was the company called Redflex, which they're known for their red light cameras that they have throughout the nation. As it turns out, one of the fired executives acknowledged in a counter lawsuit that their company has bribed officials in 13 states, and one of those states happens to be my home state of Virginia. And we just happened to have a bill that was killed in the House of Delegates in one of the committees that would have banned the red lights. So it does make you wonder and think, what kind of influence does money have on our lawmakers, and what kind of ethics and laws do you have in place in each of the states? I know that in Virginia there needs to be more transparency. Obviously, we've had some struggles with ethics, and I'm hoping that Virginia is going to make some changes where it's a little more transparent.
Well, these cameras are popping up in a lot of places, too. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, different counties usually, or towns within different counties. And, you know, it also speaks to privacy issues and, you know, issues of liberty. And like you said, I guess those take a back seat when money's in the forefront. Well,
and you can extrapolate it, or you at least have to be aware when you're looking at an issue that we've spoken about before, but you're looking at immigration and this push by the House Republicans now that they want to reform it, even though it's on the bottom of the list of any poll of any American that's asked what is their top concern. It's not the illegal immigration issue, but big business is very interested in seeing some really quick and major changes to our immigration laws. And then you look right here in Virginia and across the nation on Medicaid expansion. What kind of influence are the hospital associations having on the legislators as they make decisions on whether or not to expand Medicaid? And we're seeing Republican governors roll one by one on Medicaid expansion, and it's quite obvious, and it's nothing new, but money does have influence. What kind of laws do we have in place to help with the transparency and the ethics and the reporting?
You know, you look at some of these politicians, you want to contrast them with Governor Palin, you know, those who want to say she quit as governor of Alaska when really she did something that very few would do. You know, she left before her term was over because of all those frivolous lawsuits that all turned out to be bogus against her, and also just the attacks that were being leveled, and knowing that no one was going to work with her, she said, I'm going to do what's best for the state and for these people that I'm serving instead of myself. Here you're talking about just a complete contrast to that. You know, whatever happened to public servants are supposed to go in and do what's best for the people. Instead, it looks like, okay, I'll do what's best as long as, you know, there's big bills to be won.
Well, it's funny here in Virginia, we have a mantra that's coming out from some of our legislators that this is the Virginia way. My question is, can someone please crack that code for me? What does that mean, the Virginia way? And if you do look at Sarah Palin, how did she come into office? Because she took on the good old boys, she took on the corruption, and she cleaned things up. But that's not really the kind of person that a lot of these elected leaders want to have in office, because it's a wink-wink, let's just do things the way they've always been done. Eventually it's going to have to get to the point, and I do believe that that's part of what the struggle is right now in politics. The point where Americans are saying, you know what, enough is enough. Who is going to represent our interests?
You got to watch out when you start hearing phrases like the Virginia way. We all know what it means when people say Chicago politics or Chicago politicians. It sounds eerily similar.
It certainly does, and it's not to say that every donation leads to a decision that has been bought, because certainly that's not the case. I just think that elected officials need to be very aware of decisions that they're making, whether it's the campaign contributions they're accepting to the transparency or lack thereof that they're using. Government is about, or a good governing process is about trust. And right now, there is just a lack of it that the American people have in their elected leaders.
All right, Susan, we'll talk next week.
Thank you.